Crucial, Andrew. I mean, your area of expertise is in payment systems. There are more ways to pay for stuff now than ever before. People talk about cash being dead.
Yep.
I don't think that's the case. Do you take lots of cash?
Not much. It's about
mostly credit cards?
10% cash.
Okay, 10% cash. Do people still swipe cards and
Yes.
put cards into machines
Yes,
and put in
yes,
pins and
yeah,
stuff?
yes.
Okay, so it's a card-based system.
Yeah.
Tap and go? No?
No.
What else have you got? Apps, mobile apps?
In fact, we're in the process of introducing one within the next couple of months, yeah.
Because that's the future, isn't it? I mean, SnapScan, for example, is your guys' one.
That's right.
That is revolutionizing the way many franchisees run their businesses, from tiny franchisees to market stalls across industry.
Absolutely, Bruce. I mean, we play in the business. Ethel's teams work on the business and delivering the business, but we play in the operations of the business. And the payments world is evolving to the point where you're going to push the payment experience and into the background, because the customer's not there to actually pay. For Ian, his guest doesn't want to spend 2 hours feeling special and then have to have a clunky experience at checkout. They would like to have their treatment and leave, and for it to be seamless. And in order for that to work, the payments is evolving. So the often quoted example is Uber. I don't know how many of you use Uber or use it regularly. But
who uses Uber? How many use Uber? Yeah, there's a fair number.
So
More of you should try it. It's great fun.
I would challenge you, if you're not doing a monthly budget, to try and figure out how much you're actually spending on Uber or iTunes or Amazon, because that payment is so deeply embedded in the experience and the goods that you're buying that you're not necessarily paying attention to how much money you're spending. That's good for Ian's business, it's good for our business, not so good for the consumer.
Well, the consumer isn't stupid. If the consumer is having a good experience, they're happy to part with the money.
Correct, yeah.
And then you go onto some of these new sites that tell you how much you are spending, and then that's when you get the wake-up call. And that's when
Absolutely.
That's when you drop cappuccino, but you never drop a treatment, so I'm told.
But Bruce, it goes further, because you will hear a lot of...
You won't drop the treatment, no way.
It goes further. You will hear a lot around adjacency in the payment space. So, for example, in the quick service restaurant environment, we've just launched MasterPass for prepayment. So you can order your meal from your app, and when you're in store, it's simply a collect. There's no standing around waiting. There's none of that. So,
does that simplify things or complicate things? Because I'm of an age, and okay, Ithel's not, but we're of an age that sounds like more PT than going in and saying, "I'll have 2 of those and 2 of those, please."
I think it can be. It's on the traditional adoption curve, so we do see early adopters on the technology. For example, in our SnapScan business, we had a big ramp-up, and Ian spoke about brand and building brand awareness. There was an incredible amount of effort, drove some early adoption. But once you get into the habit of that sort of payment mechanism, and it's a seamless and painless experience for you, and you see the benefits of the efficiency and the absolute ease, then that behavior becomes repetitive.
Ian did 960,000, not personally, but 960,000 individual nails last month. How many SnapScan transactions were there last month versus 12 months ago, roughly when it was launched, if I remember?
So I can't tell you the numbers, but I can tell you the values. So we were doing just under R1 million a month.
A million.
So it was quite small, and there's a network effect that goes on. So the more merchants that participate, the more consumers enroll, the more merchants participate. So it's that kind of brand building component that I mentioned. But that's grown tenfold to over 10 million rand a month at this point.
So it's still quite small, actually.
It's still very niche, but we are finding there's broader application. So, for example, we can bring SnapScan to our QSR environment. We're talking about SnapScan in businesses like Ian's, where there could be a prepayment or an upfront payment for services. Those kind of components where the mobile phone is starting to really play a much stronger payments role.
Is there a voucher opportunity there as well, where I could get a SnapScan voucher and send it to someone else?
Completely. Ian and I were chatting, and Ian's mentioned the client experience piece. Ian's expanding the category, but he's also competing for spend from existing payments or existing service providers in that space, or other services that are adjacent categories. And what we're looking at from our perspective is to say, well, can we give our customer, Ian's businesses, insights into what his consumers are doing based on their payment behavior? Don't forget, we see your credit card or your platinum card or your gold card across our infrastructure every day. We know where you shop, we know who you shop with if you're doing it with us, and we would like to take those insights and those opportunities to businesses like Ian's, so we can then get into the vouchering and the loyalty and components. So again, there's this building out of how consumers and businesses are interacting with the engine or the platform in the middle that can really assist in terms of insights and what consumers are doing. and starts to digitize. So as much as Ian was walking the aisles and talking to his customers back in the 70s, it's the same activity, it's just digitized. But it's so fundamental, and we think we've got a big role to play in that.